My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is on up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is on up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Knighted Ones podcast. This is episode number 87. 87, that's crazy. As a reminder, we are the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst and hoops player, an infamous rapper, our resident influencer and IG star, shooting the breeze, talking UCF sports. Remember to like and follow us on YouTube, IG, X, and all of the tings, and check out the 70 plus teams and conferences on the College Huddle. We'll be bringing back the Big 12 Huddle soon. And, it's been a pretty good week in UCF sports land. We've got a baseball team that may actually make the Big 12 tournament after all. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We've had some more transfers into Knight Nation, especially when it comes to the punters, which we sorely needed. We also had some interviews to talk about. Our softball team's making some noise, and it's going to be tournament time again soon. So super excited about that. Without further ado, let me bring back our producer and the guy with the best hair on the internet, Nobra.
Hey now.
Hey now. Let's get that hair flip, bro. All right, awesome. I don't know if you caught last week's show. Well, yeah, you did because you did.
I did.
Yeah. So we gave you a little bit of a shout out there at the beginning. All right. So just wanted to make sure we all kind of passed our condolences to you. But anytime a pet crosses over the Rainbow Bridge, my heart's there. So appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you being back on the show. And we love you, Brandon. All right. Without further ado, last but not least this week, but definitely last because Trey, who was supposed to be here, isn't here. Alan had to dip out late. And Ben Stout is lost somewhere in the basketball Ethernet. There is Josh Lazar. Man, I can't speak today. How are you? Welcome back to the show, Josh.
Jason.
Hello, world. We're doing it live, I think is the phrase, right?
We always do it live.
We're doing it live, and that's why Jason Lazar is with you today. How are you doing?
We're not talking about New York sports this episode. I'm telling you that right now.
Listen,
I was so sad that I missed that episode and I'm wearing a Giants hat. Are you kidding me? I was so happy to see that.
Look, we can talk about Travis Hunter if you want. That's
we're not talking about Travis Hunter. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to talk about him when he was at Colorado. I certainly don't want to talk about him now.
Sip, 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 sip. All right, it's time for UCF stuff. There's so much UCF sports that happened this week and so little after this week.
Yeah.
I was doing my side of the show notes, and I'm like, there's not a lot left. We're getting to summer.
Yeah, the dog days of summer, for sure. I mean, look, here's the reality of it. We don't even know if we're going to get a postseason for our baseball team, but they are in a much better shot. They have a much better shot this weekend. To get to the tournament, to have their only shot to get to the postseason, which is winning the Big 12 tournament. So that's some good news we can talk about. Football got some good news this week too, with some additional transfers. We can talk about those folks. We learned a little bit more about Taven Jackson. We've got the 16-team playoff I kind of want to talk about because it looks like it's gathering momentum as we speak for the 2026 season. So let's start off at the top and talk a little bit UCF football. So UCF lands 3 more transfers. That's 13 transfers overall, which is, it's crazy to think about because of the roster turnover, but this is what we live in now. We picked up defensive lineman Rodney Laura. Interesting thing about Rodney Laura is he is from UNC and he was projected to be a starter. He played for 2 years at UNC. We all know that there's a little drama with Bill Belichick and his little mama that is, all over.
He's not the problem.
No. Well, I mean,
Well,
he kind of is.
kind of.
He kind of is, right?
Fair,
Because
fair,
it's Bill Belichick. He's built his whole career being stodgy, grumpy old man, and now he's running around with his young compatriot. I don't know what we want to call that.
Girlfriend. She's girlfriend. I mean,
girlfriend. That's
Yeah.
You're right. You're 100%
She
right.
was ill.
That's his girlfriend, and his
Yes.
girlfriend is how shall we say? She's a lot. So
I'm not saying anything.
yeah, you know what though? I'm actually rooting for them to stay together,
I hope so.
provided a hurricane doesn't cancel this football game. It's good to have Bill distracted when it comes to the football season because we will be playing them. Go ahead, Josh. You were going to say something?
Yeah. I was going to say, just like we had Tiger Woods on the sideline when Stanford was coming here, and that he got to watch that live. That must have been fun. So yeah, I'm with you. It's again, we're not going to veer too far off of VCF sports, but we don't have those level of distractions this year. Thankfully, we don't have season 5 of Gus where we don't know what's going to go on. We have season, I guess, 3 of Frost, and we don't know what's going to go on either. But it's nice to have we know who the coach is. Who knows what the team is? We have 3 more people we'll talk about, but they have a lot of. They're in the news more than they should be, and not for the right reasons.
Well, here's the thing, too. I mean, Bill Belichick's turned the roster completely over at UNC. So as much as we are putting together a team, they are putting together a team. Now, obviously, they have a lot more money, but the only reason we had a shot at Rodney Laura to begin with was because, legitimately, he didn't want to play for Bill Belichick. There was so much drama going on over there that he didn't want to play for him. So, it's from that perspective, it's a good thing for us. From all of the confusion that's going on over there, it's good for us. And, it looks like we picked up a pretty good player and someone who would have started at UNC. So we don't have the money that they do, but it kind of puts us on an even playing field, so to speak, when it comes to some of these players. So this guy Rodney is 6'3", 295 pounds, so pretty good size for a defensive lineman. He's from North Arlington, New Jersey, which is interesting. He didn't have much playing time, but he was a 3-star prospect, and he's going to call the Knights home. So we've got someone else that we can add to a defensive line, at least for a depth piece. But the good news is he's got 3 years to play, 3 years of eligibility to play, which gives us a long-term piece of this team. All right. Next on the list, and by the way, he was a top 20 player in Virginia when he was in high school. So he was, obviously it's not the same as Florida where you have a top 100 in Florida, but top 20 in Virginia is pretty solid. 6th defensive line transfer for us. And we added some depth to the punting game. So this is pretty interesting. Who do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Veneri or, man, that's unfortunate, or Mason Dunneberg?
Well, let's do I would say let's do not Vinatieri. Veneri. Let's start with Veneri because Dunneberg is a more interesting story. Not that Anthony might be amazing too, right? But Mason is definitely a more interesting story than Anthony. I'd say, for those who don't know.
I will say this. I mean, Anthony Veneri, he did play for Ohio State last year. So
The Ohio State.
yes, the Ohio State. The Ohio State. So he before that though, he did transfer to the Ohio State from Buffalo. So he's from Hamilton, Ontario. So he's a Canadian, 6 foot, 225 pounds. So you have Australian punters. Now we have a Canadian punter. He averaged last year, or the last year that he played was 2023. He had 53 punts, averaged 43.6 yards. Before that, it was 43 yards. So decent punting, 64 long. He had 0 touchbacks, 0 inside the 20, although the previous year he had 1 inside the 20 and a net of 41.1. So he's got to be a pretty good punter if he got picked up by Ohio State. You know, again, most of his games were at Buffalo, which it was on a bad Buffalo team. I mean, losses to EMU, Miami, Ohio, Toledo. We went against Kent. We know Kent State very well. So, you know, we don't know what he's going to be, but he seems pretty consistent. He played 2 years at Buffalo. He went to Ohio State and now transfers to us. So we'll see. We needed punters. He seems pretty consistent and, you know, decent. And, you know, like you said, not as crazy of a story as Mason Denneberg, but definitely someone we needed to add to the lineup.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. It's anytime you can add depth, period, and a statement, it is good. Anytime you can add competition that allows the rising tide to float all boats, and competition is good in all sorts of areas, including sports. So I'm encouraged that the team is seeing, you know, the coaches are seeing what they have on the field and deciding to make, you know, you don't go get 2 punters because you're really, really, really comfortable with the punters that you have on your team. Yeah, you don't just do it randomly. And I will say Mason might be a different scenario, but you know, the more the merrier at this point, because we're on this roller coaster of, well, actually merry-go-round really of people rotating and different college football teams. So I'm not usually like, oh yay, punters, but Mason's an interesting one. I'm kind of rooting for him. So he's not a 19-year-old freshman, right?
No. Maybe a 31-year-old freshman. I don't know. He was,
I think he's 25.
Yeah, he was born in 99. So, you know, that was a good year because I started my thanks for making me feel old, Josh. I started my UCF career in 1999. That was the summer of 99 that I started at UCF. And had a lot of fun parties at CVI, actually, if those of you remember that, with the football players that used to be housed there. And
CVI, Collegiate Village Inn, right?
Yes. Yes.
Fun.
Yeah, I actually had to do some prereqs coming in that summer. So I didn't even get a summer off. Thanks, engineering program that was actually 6 years and had to reduce their number of credit hours while I was there. So yeah, I was doing the aerospace engineering program. They had us come in and do some prereq courses before we started. And I lived locally at the time. In high school, I lived in the Waterford Lakes area. So I was close to UCF, but spent a lot of time over there during class time getting the college experience over at CVI. So that was interesting to say the least. Now, Mason Denneberg did not have the CVI experience because he was bored. He is a MLB player. He was drafted by the Washington Nationals in 2018 in the first round. Overall pick number 27 to the Washington Nationals. He's 6'4", 195 pounds. So one, he's a tall dude. Two, he's from Merritt Island, Florida, which is pretty awesome. Local kid that's coming back to play for UCF. But he's also a professional athlete who's coming back to play in the college ranks. And the last time that happened, a little bit of different story. Do you remember who that player was? Certain tight end.
That came back from
Uh,
oh God. I'm not gonna be able to pull that out of my head. Oh,
he was a tight end who was a professional baseball player, or who was a baseball player, and then came back and was a tight end for UCF football, and then went on to the NFL.
The first thing that pops in is Darcy Johnson, but I don't think that's. I'm fairly certain that's not it.
No.
Is it back then though? Is it we're talking about?
He was drafted. He was drafted in 2018, and his name is always said incorrectly, and we make fun of it all the time.
I remember
Jalen Adkins, or AKA Jordan Akins.
Jalen Adkins is that?
Yeah, Jalen Adkins. Yeah, for some reason, people called him Jalen Adkins all the time.
Yeah,
but he is the last player that did this, and he was pretty successful for UCF. It's an interesting story because I will say this: I will take any professional athlete. Yes, baseball is a different type of athlete, right? Yes, this guy hasn't punted since high school, but he was a pretty good punter in high school. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But his
brother's a punter too. I think at Syracuse.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure if I remember this correctly.
Well, it is a New York thing, so yeah, I'm sure.
I'll check it out. But yeah, I mean, if I remember reading the article correctly, his brother is the one that convinced him to go back to kicking.
Is it really?
If I remember correctly, yeah. It's been a long week, but yeah,
it says Brady Denenberg has thrived as Syracuse's starting kicker. So you're right.
Yeah, and I mean the dude's big enough to have his own Wikipedia article already. Probably because his under 18 baseball World Cup team won a gold medal in 2017 on top of everything else he's done. So it's really. Good for him. And you know what? We've had a history of tall punters too. So this is, I'm excited for the man. And truth be told, if he invested his money well from his first round signing bonus, he can be also getting some of the collegiate experience, have money in the bank too. And if he does good enough, he'll make more money and possibly make more money in football too. So this is an exciting story, and definitely one where if he wins the job, this is a story that will be easily on ESPN and Fox and all that too, when we have games.
Yeah, I think what's interesting now with all of this is, I'm hoping he brings out a baseball swing, kind of like a certain form of punter that we had, Mac Waterman, who had the golf swing. Good. I hope he wins the job just so he can do the baseball swing and knock it out of the park. All right. So that's exciting news. 3 new players. Now we've got another new transfer that transferred for this year to us, Taven Jackson. So he had an interview this week, and it was the first time that I saw him on an interview, and very, very smart kid. It was interesting. He said that he was actually being recruited by Scott Frost at Nebraska. I didn't know that they had that tie. He also talked about how exciting it was to be able to play for the coach who ran a similar type of offense when he was in college, ran this offense while he was at UCF, and the coach who played and ran this offense for UCF when we were undefeated. So it's funny because he made the comment, he said, when someone does something good in the quarterback room, they say, hey, KZ, or go KZ, right? Like, because it's like KZ's their coach. So can you imagine? You've got the guy who's played the position 8 years before, right? Yeah. Who played it 8 years before at a very, very high level. And he's the guy who's running the offense. And he said the biggest takeaway for him was when you watch KZ's tape, It's how fast he read the defenses to be able to operate the right offense, and whether it be a pitch or whether it be a throw or whether it be to take off and run. And he's been helping him with that. And a big part of that was that he's going home. Taven's going home and doing a lot of the mental reps at home. So we asked him, how can I be like you? And he said, the biggest thing is mental reps. That way it adds into the physical reps. And a lot of what we've talked about over the last 2 seasons has been the inability of our quarterbacks to be able to read defenses properly and react properly. So it sounds like that's been a really, really big talking point, and they've been drilling it in their head. They also said, that the quarterback room itself has been really, really highly competitive. So because it's been really highly competitive, it's how should I say this? It's a healthy competitive nature, which is a good thing. Coach Frost is really, really trying to rebuild that culture that we talked about, that Trey talks about all the time, that they had. And it sounds like it's ringing true in the quarterback room. And now we've got a new quarterback that we talked about last week that we're adding to that room, and hopefully that continues. So Taven Jackson, if you haven't watched the interview, I encourage you to actually go back and watch it. He seems like a smart kid. He's focusing on the mental reps that are needed, and he's a guy that seems like he could be very successful for UCF.
Yeah, it's interesting because I kind of correlate that to I didn't get to see that. I kind of correlate that to Jaden Daniels. I don't know if you kind of heard when the Commanders did so well in the playoffs and pretty decent during the season, how Jaden Daniels, since his time, I think it was LSU he was at, was doing VR simulations of teams and reps and where defenses were, using some technology that was, I don't know if it's created for him, but created for this reason. And it helps more with the mental reps like you're talking about. That was kind of an interesting topic that really, to me as a technologist, didn't get as much press as it could have. And it also, to me, shows how those mental reps can do some amazing things, because let's be honest, the Washington Commanders, formerly the Redskins, back when they were that too, haven't been a good team since probably the 90s. And this is probably one of their best years in a very long time. And I'm not saying all of it has to do with those mental reps, but they had a QB slinging it and doing some amazing things that people probably haven't seen in a Commanders jersey in a little while. So with that being said, with Jackson's kind of same mentality and getting that insight from KZ, knowing that the mental reps will get him there. Like you're 100% right. Like the amount of knowledge and decision making that KZ was able to do at the line before the snap, we all saw it for like 25 straight games. And truth be told, even as a freshman, there were a couple times where you can see it, but he wasn't just there yet. I think it was the Maryland game where he had something like
that was fumbles. It wasn't picks. It wasn't bad decision making. It was fumbles.
Yeah, but you can, when you see an athlete or an employee or a coworker or something, and you see like it's there, it's just not completely shaped yet, you can tell that person, that company, whatever is striving for greatness and will get there. I know that there are a lot of boo birds in Frost's first season, and no one wanted to lose to Arkansas State in the bowl game. But if you close your eyes, not like Gino Babers.
Did you really just bring up Arkansas State, dude? My uncle was in from Germany, and I took him to that game.
No.
Yes, I took him to that game, and we had end zone seats. Right, we were right behind the end zone. And
oh man,
he's this big sports fan, right? So it was his first American football game here, and so there's a picture of him like that the local, I can't remember which newspaper it was. I think it was an AP photo. And so he's sitting in the end zone, arms crossed, looking completely upset, and that was the picture that made it into the newspaper from that game. It was so
Man.
bad, and that was the game that almost ran KZ off because
Well, no, I agree. Yeah, no, you are 100% right. And what I'm saying is, if you think back and are objective about it, there was glimpse of greatness there. There was. You can tell it just wasn't all put
no,
together.
I was talking. That was a reference to our former head football coach Dino Babers.
Yes, yes, yes. Only if you close your eyes and think about it. So
Exactly.
I will say this: the I like going back to Jackson. I like the desire to see that on film and go, okay, how did you do that? It's not going to be the same offense, but probably similar language and similar concepts with probably some things he wanted to pull from the Rams and maybe some other stuff from that other school he coached at for a hot minute, maybe not. But he's not the same person he was in 2017. We shouldn't expect the same thing. But I'm sure the quarterback position is going to be similar enough that if you can replicate anything, like a fraction or even half of what KZ was doing, you might have a fun year. So I love the effort. I love the desire and the drive to succeed.
I just love the fact that he's concentrating on mental reps because the last two seasons of quarterbacks, well, I won't say that because if we look back, JRP wasn't, but his backup,
yeah,
all the talent in the world could not get the offense. Then last season, same thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean,
Jakuri was supposed to have been struggling with it as well, although this was his first year. So the fact that they're bringing that type of mentality, you've got a quarterback coach that's pushing that, I think is solid. And I think that's also, says something about Gus and developing QBs and how good he was known to do that. So, that's the big thing for me. If a quarterback can figure it out, you don't always have to out physical with talent, although he's got physical talent, right? He went in at Indiana and was expected to compete for the job. He ended up being second on that Indiana team, played a little bit last year and a few games last year for Indiana and that run that they had. So he's got the tools, if he's got the mental capacity behind it, and he can read the defenses in this offense, and he is the starter, he can win a lot of games just by not out physicaling, but out mentaling the defense. So that is awesome. One of the other things that we have to talk about this week is the 16-team playoff. So that reared its ugly head again. Well, not ugly head. I think it's a good thing, depending on how they do the bids. As long as it isn't all SEC, like
the SEC is in the playoffs. Woohoo!
Yeah. What I keep hearing is like the SEC and Big Ten get 4 in, the Big 12 and the ACC get 2 in. Then you have the independents with Notre Dame. Although I don't know, would they qualify as one of the 2 for the ACC? Or I don't think so, right? I don't think it works that way. I don't think they can play for the championship.
I'm sure they have some. Look, as someone who grew up in the Northeast, and I was a Notre Dame fan when I was growing up.
Mr. New York, New York.
Listen, I didn't. Well, what am I going to root for in New York? Syracuse? They were okay in the 90s. I lived in the island. I was a Notre Dame fan when I was growing up in the 80s. And let's be fair, they deserve to have a place somewhere here. Now, they should join a conference like everyone else. But again, they don't need to. They have enough sweetheart deals. They're good to go. So they have to be a piece of something. I don't know what it looks like and feels like, but they have to be a part of this.
Oh, hold on. He doesn't get to do that. There's a kitty on the podcast. No, bro. Hi. It's getting bigger.
That is a wonderful, smushy cat that looks like it needs to eat a little more.
That's a terrible way of saying that, of a smushy cat. Okay. So anyway, congratulations to Nobra. His kitty's getting bigger. So Josh, don't. Good, thank you. Anyway, Nobra is literally laughing. I see him on the background here. He's literally laughing. That being said, I really didn't mean it that way. 16-team playoff. So if I'm doing the math, it can't be 4, 2, and 2, right? Because it would be 8 plus 4 is 12, which would leave 13 for Notre Dame if they make it, or Independence, which is basically Notre Dame, and that would leave 3 spots for the G6 or G6. Yeah. So I don't think that's the case. Josh, can you check on that for me? It may be 4, 4, 3, 3, which would make more sense.
Yeah, I'll try to take a look.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is 4, 4, 3, 3 because that would equal 16. So in a 16 team playoff, everybody makes more money. The bad part about this is the SEC also came out and said that that ESPN will pony up the money for them to play an extra in-conference game. So what does that mean for UCF? Why do we care? Remember that Florida series that was a home and home and a neutral site? Well,
you mean the 2-for-1?
Yes, the twofer, the Terry twofer.
And I can't. I'm out of all the things I'm annoyed about with Gus, it's that game, the second one. Keep going.
It's not Gus, it's Terry.
No. I'm talking about literally.
Oh, losing that game
in the swamp and just breaching our britches. It was just, come on. It was no. Anyway.
Yeah, it was terrible. All right. So that being said, so that means that game, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that game, right? Because it was a 3-game series, and if they lose that, now according to the contract, Brandon from Rivals reported this. Everybody, if you don't know who Brandon Helwig is, you should. He did report that in the contract there is a clause in there. So before you get all over Terry on this, although the 2-for-1 is, this isn't Wendy's. So so basically the contract states that if it was to get canceled because of the conference games being changed, it does have to be rescheduled. Now that doesn't mean that Florida can't come to us and say, hey, we really don't want to play this game. We'll overpay to get out of it, because they're going to get paid more anyway out of the extra game that the SEC will be getting in their inventory for ESPN, which will be a higher payout. So it'll be interesting to see. But the 16-team playoff, what do you think about having a 16-team playoff? They haven't really said how they were going to achieve that, but it is they are pushing for 2026, and it does look like 2026 is going to be the date for this said playoff. The Pac-12 kind of got torn apart basically the last time we were having a playoff expansion conversation. The SEC got miffed. There was the alliance, if you remember, with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. Yeah, the alliance. So, all of that stuff happened. And so now we have this 16-team playoff. It'll be interesting to see how they do this, because they either have to extend the season or basically push back conference championships. And what if you have 2 teams that are playing? So let's say in the Big 12, you've got the top 2 teams that are playing each other, right? Or any conference that has a round robin schedule. So you got the top 2 teams playing each other in the conference championship. How does that work for that second team? So let's say they lose in the conference championship now. Do they still get the automatic second bid because they played in the conference championship or not? And I think there's 3 bids. So
I think so.
2 conference championship teams and then 1 wild card. Now for UCF, it's a great thing. Even at the number of teams that we have now in the Big 12, which I don't see expanding anytime soon, unless the ACC rips apart, which has kind of died down with the FSU stuff, right? And UNC and all of that. But how does that? I think that's advantageous for UCF. I mean, 3 out of 16. All you have to do is place top 3 out of 16 teams to make the playoff.
Yeah, I think it's good. We got in before all of the problems happened, and we got very, very, very lucky. So to me, this does two things. One, it makes the group of 4, 5, or 6, or whatever you want to call it, pretty much have almost no shot at getting more than one person in out of 16.
Which is still more than we had.
It is still more than we had, because if we had 16, we would have been able to get it on the.
Yeah, I think we just lost Josh. He was really mad at the G6. That being said, Nobra, I'm going to put you up here just so you can you can look pretty with me. You can be the eye candy. So legitimately speaking, though, like when it comes to the 16-team playoff, I think he was right. It gives one shot still to the G6, which is better than what we had. I do think it bodes well for the Big 12 because we get 3 teams in. And it bodes well, most importantly, for our Knights, because when we do, yeah, he just messaged me saying he has computer issues. No, duh, Josh, you're not in here.
Yeah, no
so what that does for us, basically, is it gives us a great opportunity to get into the playoffs. So UCF has to take advantage of this. It also, I think, protects us for an extended period of time. And it will earn the Big 12 Conference more money, which will in turn earn UCF more money. So there's no downsides to this whatsoever. What do you think, Nobra?
Sure, yeah.
Dude, you're supposed to be the eye candy. This is where you do the hair flip. Yeah, exactly. or the swimming goggles. You throw those on. You still got to do that. But yeah, I think there's no downside for UCF. I think it's a good thing for UCF. Josh is back.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh. Nobra was no help.
Listen, dude. All I will say is this. That was the conference committee saying that I was not selected in the top 16 of the 2026 playoffs. They're like, nope. You talked about the G6. Get out of this stream.
Yeah, exactly. You weren't picked for the top 3 in this live stream. Is
Man, Nobra's getting coming on up on the number 2 spot. That's great.
The number 2
coming off the bench.
All right. No, but Josh, basically, while you were out, we knew you had computer problems, dude. If you dropped, right, you didn't have to tell us. But that being said,
ridiculous with 32 gigs of RAM on this computer. I'm not, but yeah,
you're still freezing. It might be your interwebs. That being said, I think it's a good thing for the Big 12. The Big 12 is going to make more money because we're going to have more playoff. 3 teams in, which means we're going to get a bigger slice of the pie. UCF has a better opportunity, obviously, to get in, just percentage wise. I think there's no negatives right now to this. And if we sign the contract, that means that keeps the Big 12 as a power conference. At least I'm going to imagine they're going to sign at least a 5-year contract, which would take us through 2031. And our contract for the Big 12 conference ends around 2030. So we'll have an opportunity to either go through whatever consolidation is going to happen before then or whatever before that contract cycle ends. But I think it provides stability for us to build in the interim and a little extra cash to help that along the way. Anything you want to add to that as well?
No, as this is always, this is a net positive almost always for UCF, because while we are not in the SEC or the Big Ten, I'd love to say yet, but I want to be realistic. We're not in the group 6, right? Anything now is better than what we had. The money is better. Frankly, the sports overall are better. The competition is better. And now we have a legitimate shot. And going back to what Frost has been saying about UCF sports and specifically UCF football, he realizes we're not going to be 2017 with a snap of the fingers with NIL and
I think everybody realizes
yes. And the goal seems to be getting us in contention frequently. At this point, with this expansion, getting us in contention gets us a shot at the playoffs. So I feel like we're in this really good spot of perhaps in a couple of years with the right set of diamond mining and the right set of real team building. Like it's not just all about money; it's money
Dude,
and
the only
family.
reason we're diamond mining right now is because the NIL pool is where it is, and we've got
Oh
another
yeah,
year before we get the full dollars, right?
Yeah,
So
it's the two things at once, and people have already kind of, it's the reason we lost someone to Texas Tech. Objectively, we're on par with them, if you will, in certain sports, and they have a big head start. So it's nothing against Lubbock, but it's not where I would love to live for even a year.
well,
Well,
I would love to
perhaps.
live there for $1 million, especially if it's versus,
I live there for $1 million too.
800,000. I'll take the tortillas being thrown in the field and the cows smelling from what I hear that permeates that place. So, all right,
I'm in Lubbock.
yeah, for $1 million, I'm in Lubbock too. Okay, let's go ahead and swiv it.
Swivel.
No, I said swiv it, bro. We changed it. Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay. So let's talk a little UCF baseball. So UCF baseball is now 27-24. So they are above 500. We play Presbyterian next. And if you have any doubts as to why we're playing Presbyterian, it's so that we're above 500 for the season, guaranteed, right? That is the only reason we were playing Presbyterian this week. If we had any chance at an at-large bid, we would not be playing Presbyterian whatsoever, because their RPI actually would bring ours down. So we are now playing. We're in a situation where we're playing for the Big 12 tournament. I'm not saying for the title, to play into the tournament. The good news is, the bad news is that Utah won a series that they shouldn't have won against Arizona State, I believe. The BYU also had a sweep this week, which means that we're in a tiebreaker situation with both of those teams. Now, the good news is if UCF wins the next conference series, which it has a very good chance of doing, then UCF is in the tournament. It can either be an 11 or a 12 seed, depending on how they play. If they sweep, they get an 11 seed, which is advantageous, because they avoid basically the number 1 seed until you get to the championship game if they make it that far. However, if BYU sweeps or Utah wins their series and we lose our series, then that's the end of the season, folks. This team did play well this past week. They had 2 games with offensive explosions. They beat Texas Tech and took the series 2-1. They lost the middle game. They could have won that game. It could have very easily been a sweep, and that would have been great for us for our tournament championship hopes. And Willie had a phenomenal weekend series, and he batted for the Josh.
It looked like you. I thought you. Sorry, I saw the little pop up that said it muted your mic. I know you're trying to set me up. I'm sorry. He batted for the cycle.
Exactly, and that hasn't happened in a really, really long time. For UCF, I believe it was 2015. It's only happened 2 times in the entire history of UCF baseball has anyone batted for the cycle. Jimenez also had an excellent outing. He almost batted for the cycle as well. And we had our newest prospect, Gray, who also played really well, got his first hit this series and got his first homer. So that was super exciting. The batting was excellent. I'm excited by some of the pitchers. Again, we've kind of talked about this. We've got some very young aces that are going to be coming back next year that we'll be bringing back to the table. But it was good outing for UCF baseball this weekend. They should have won the second game too. They lost it towards the tail end of that game. But they have a big series coming up because of the BYU game, etc. So I don't know. Do you feel more confident coming out of these games and going into Baylor than you did before? And again, this team should not be in a position to fight for a tournament, for a shot at the tournament, the Big 12 tournament. We're not even talking about the NCAA tournament. We're talking about the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah. So conflicted, right? I feel a little more excited versus going like 0-6 in 2 series. I know Texas Tech is at the bottom with us, but so was Oklahoma State, right? And I know we beat BYU in like snow, but we didn't play Utah, so that's interesting. It's a little bit more, right? A little bit more. I was last week. We were looking at who we had left on all sides, BYU, Utah, and us, because that's basically what is now the bottom. And it looked like we had the hardest schedule. We had, I'd say not the hardest schedule. We had the easiest schedule, perhaps, because everyone else was playing Arizona and other people. I'm like, well, Arizona or Arizona State should be, blank. And of course that didn't happen. So I feel a little more confident. I'm not like, we're going to get a sweep at Baylor. We might need one. But I feel like we have a shot of being able to win the series, if not sweep Baylor, to get into the Big 12 tournament. And if we do that, and we have Presbyterian coming up too in the middle of all this, and we beat Missouri State, although we hit like 11 runs, I think, in like the 9th or something like that. I feel a little bit better. And we'll talk about this when it comes to softball. Sometimes you need a little bit of a hot streak or something to get you past, the yips or the twisties and other sports, like just whatever that mental block is. I don't think this is physical. I think it's timing of the mental.
Twisties? I've never heard that. That is not a baseball term.
No, it's not a baseball. I said in other sports. So you got to follow the whole thread.
Right.
You have to get past whatever that is, and my hope is that we are at that point. We'll find out, because Baylor is it's not do or die, but it's darn near close. And yes, that just sounds horrible, that do or die to get into the Big 12 tournament at this point, but this is our reality, and they need to step up.
Mike, you were doing great. He said, hopefully bring them back. Then he said, we're going to be a bid stealer if we make the Big 12 tournament. Then he says, people are going to MFing see us in their bracket. Then he says, as long as we break even in the win differential in this last series with BYU, and if Utah doesn't win plus one more than us, then we make the tourney. You're absolutely right. And then he said this.
Okay, hold on. I haven't been watching because I've been focusing on this.
Okay, Mike, I know you probably jumped in not from the start of the show, right? But dude, we said we weren't going to talk about New York sports.
3-1.
About New York sports. I love you, Mike, but no. So
thank you, Mike.
So anyway, I think Mike's right, though. I think this is going to be a team, if we win the Baylor series, I think this is going to be a team that is just a complete wild card, right? Because this team could win pretty much any game. We've got he says, wasn't talking, just said the game was over, LOL.
I thank you, Mike. I took a look.
The fact that you mentioned the New York-Boston game, though, bro, that's the whole point. We're not talking about we're not talking about NY sports here.
It's going to be the Madison Square TK1 Madison Square Garden Live. No, you can. Yeah. We'll end it. We'll end it. Listen, we in Florida, Panthers doing good. Right, there's a lot of sports teams doing good. Travis Hunter's coming to town. Florida's been doing fine in sports.
Dude, do you hear me talking about the Reds or the Bengals on here?
Why would you have a reason to talk about the Reds or the
The same reason you talk about New York, bro. All right.
Okay, I'm good.
Oh gosh, now Nobra's taking over. Knicks win, baby. Knicks in 5. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Let's get back to it. This
Yes,
is off
let's
the
do it.
rails, you New Yorkers. All right. Mike says tier rating or pair ratings has us as the 5th best odds to win the Big 12 tournament. 100% agree. This team has the statistics to be able to do it. But Mike, do they have the heart? And Mike, will they make the tournament? That's the big question, right? Will they make the tournament? Because
if they go on a
they
streak,
have lost games they shouldn't have lost.
of course, no, they've lost series they shouldn't have lost, and
Yeah,
if you know what,
they've been swept when they shouldn't have lost. They shouldn't have lost to West Virginia. I hate to be like that guy, but all of those games were winnable games. We should have taken at least one. Mike says yes. He says, but this team isn't clutch, and this is what I've been talking about all season. 447 players left on base this year. 447. You don't win a lot of baseball games. We've had, and this is the tough part. If you look at the individual statistics, even Cruson, which Ben likes to make fun of me for, right? That's nearly 9 per game. You know, Cruson has over a 300 batting average, right? This team has a great batting average. Their risk sucks. And the reason for that is they don't bring them home with the ribbies. They don't make clutch hits. So there's a few people that can make clutch hits, but for whatever reason, we haven't homered this year as much as we did. Josh just sent me a message and said, he said he's going off screen. Give me 1 minute now. I'm going off screen for listener love. Okay, so he doesn't love you guys like I do. That's what I just heard. And there's Nobra. That being said, that's the problem. Is this team has left so many on base. The base running has been atrocious all year long. Like even this last game with Texas Tech, we had, I think it was Espinal who was reaching for third and got thrown out at third. We've been reaching all season long. The base running has been terrible. And at the end of the day, had we moved or pushed some of those across home plate, we would have won more of these games. This team should have won more games than what they did.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. And I think we're kind of in this. For those of you who have played sports, and I think everyone on this podcast has played sports in some way, shape, or form, and at a pretty decently high level. I get bowling of all things, but
pickleball, play pickleball at a high level, right?
I'm not bad, but if I'm saying a sport that I can probably dominate a significant portion of all people, it's bowling. Still to this day, I can practice for like a game or two and still be good. So in that case, we've all been in a place where you're a little bit behind, or you see what the score is, you do some of the math in your head, and you're like, okay, maybe I need to do a little bit more of this, or maybe I need to do a little bit. I have to press. I have to do that, and then it just all falls apart because
that wasn't the strength of this team early on. It was late inning pushes. It's not that. I blame that. I blame that on the base running coaches. That's the third base coach, man. Like you're the one who's telling people to steal. You're the one who's telling people to, reach for an extra base or whatever. And there's a reason Rich Wallace was out there doing base running towards the end of the season. And that was the coach, right? In my opinion. And he's been with us for a while and he's been good. Mike says, if we strand 30% less than what we did this year, we lead the nation in scoring.
That's insane. And this is why I don't think that this is going to get your popcorn ready.
I'm on a tirade.
Well, here's the thing. The reality is that all this is true, and none of you are wrong. And the reality is, can we put it together for a month? The proof is in the pudding. The answer is probably no.
Yes. Will we? Probably not.
Correct. And if we do, we might, and I keep going back to it because we're going to talk about it a little bit, and we might be like Michigan making it into the NCAA tournament in softball, winning 6 in a row after getting blanked by the team they beat in the finals. Like we could be that. We could be where we were in the beginning of the year. We just got to put together a streak, and it starts with Baylor this week.
Listen,
Again, is it probable? No.
I want this team to do it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I absolutely want them to. I want them to win. Like, I was along the baseline, and yes, I agree. It's 4 games in 4 days, Mike. 100% right. It is not impossible. You're 100% right. It is possible. It's 100% possible. This pitching staff the closers specifically have, like with Galvan or some of the other closers, they just inexplicably have bad games at times. And you've got to have consistent closers to be able to do that. We thought we had that early on this season. That hasn't played out as well. And we've got to be on a hit streak, right? That's the other thing. SB he's back in the lineup. He hasn't hit like he did. Willie's come back into the lineup strong, and he's done great, towards the tail end of the season. But Braden Calise has underperformed, and a few of the others. Jimenez has been great. Ross has been great as the leadoff guy. So we've got some good hitters. We just can't put it together. So do I have confidence that we can go 4? No. Do I think it's possible? Yes, because we do have the pitching staff to do it. The closers are questionable. We've got Castellanos in the for the the middle of series. But if our closers can do it, I absolutely think we can do it. But it's going to be dependent to me on the closers, and I hope that they don't push running the base path. And if they do that, I think they've got a good shot. And again, some of these we've had a great defense for most of the year, but there's times where it's just like, did they really just do that?
Yeah.
A few times. I mean, what was that? Angelo Smith that like, what was it, like 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago that was in a game and he forgot that there wasn't a third. He thought there were 3 outs. Like, how do you forget that I mean, this team has just done some really crazy things. So I hope that they do it. I like the guys. I've met all of them. I've said hello to all of them. Obviously, you guys know that I love Rich. Do I think they're capable? I talked about that all season. 100%. They're capable of a lot more than what they did. Do I think they will do it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know either, but we'll see what happens. I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's see how Baylor goes.
Let's just say I'm rooting for them.
We all are, and it would be a great story if they went on a. I mean that's and I only use them as a most immediate example.
All right,
and why you may be upset if we happen to lose the team, but Michigan won 6 in a row to get exactly what we're hoping.
Josh, you stroked out there for a second. Your internet went crazy. Okay. But I get what you're saying. If Michigan do it,
that's weird.
We can. So, okay. Yeah. Let's go ahead and swim it one more time. Josh, you got to say it, dude. That's not saying it.
Swim it.
Thank you. All right. Let's go into a little bit of listener love, and we'll start off with Econ Advisor. Great listener, frequent commenter, and I encourage all of you to comment for us because we absolutely love it when you do and interact with us. So this was one of his comments. He said UCF had developed the rep as where successful QBs played until we gave up on him, sort of like ex-Magic players in the NBA. Scott will change that. I hope Dabby could have a chance to be another Milton. So our response to that was Obviously, thank you. But we said we also have Kane Archer right behind him between Milton and Frost. I think the QB room will turn around and be elite again with time. Thank you for the comment. Then on the next one, he says, where we're talking about, oh gosh. Okay.
What?
Seriously,
What?
Josh.
What?
Seriously. He
What?
shows, for those of you that are listening, he shows up with the Knicks jersey on.
What?
Oh my gosh. You and
What?
those
This what? This it's just
Let's go Knicks, baby.
All right. See, we just lost a viewer because of you guys. All right. So the second thing here is 3 to 4 wins will be a success. The cupboard was bare when Scott arrived. Most of the pseudo stars bolted immediately, ready to play. Frosh recruits are absent. No cachet for or I think he meant cash for NIL. All right. So our response was not yet, but I do think they're saving up for next year to get some higher priced folks. I would amend that to 4 to 6 wins, especially given the schedule we have this year. We will do a preview, but you only see 3 to 4 wins on the on the schedule this year? ? I'm just glad we all have our expectations aligned. Thank you for viewing and commenting. We will make sure to include you in the next show. So let me ask you that question, Josh. Yes. Do you think 4 to 6 wins should be the expectation, or do you think it's 3 to 4?
I think 6 wins should be the expectation is the term. Okay, expectations is the term. And that's why there's a difference between what I think will happen and what will happen. My expectation is 6 wins. There is literally a financial incentive for Scott Frost to do it. There is the continuity we want. No, I look, even if Gus was still here, we still have 4,000 new people. Doesn't matter that it's a new coach. We still have to do install for a significant amount of people. And most of the people are here. So because most of the people are here, what are the givens? Are the givens Jacksonville State and NCA&T?
So Jack State is rebuilding, NCAA is rebuilding, UNC is rebuilding, Kansas State is not. Kansas is not. No. Cincinnati, I'm not sold on them, so that's a possible 4 right there. Houston, that's a possible 5 right there.
Usually good.
And OSU is rebuilding as well this year from scratch and played terribly last year. So
I mean, I don't see how you don't see 6. Let's put one asterisk here. Assuming the major players like starting quarterback doesn't go down. Let's take that out of the possibility.
Well, I mean, let's not say quarterback because I think we do have backups.
Running back.
Trey Brown that'll be there. Obviously, I don't think our new acquisition from South Florida is going to be
Cam's not
ready, right? He's not going to be ready, right?
He's not him. Not yet. No.
But I do think he basically was a 2025 high school recruit and reclassified to come out a year early. So he's not ready yet. But between those two, I think if Ja'Cory Brown is backup, if he ends up being backup, which I think he's going to be, right? If he ends up being the backup, I think he's a good enough backup to, if something happens, that he could carry the team on a go-forward basis.
Yeah, to me, yes, I'm going to say I have an expectation of at least 5 wins. I mean, I have an expectation of 6 wins, but that's, that's what I have. That's my expectation. I'm looking at the schedule. I know that's a new it's not a completely new team, but a reasonably new team. You're telling me we're not going to get 1 win out of Kansas State, Cincinnati, Baylor, Texas, and BYU on the road. Not 1. And we're going to lose no, I'm saying to the audience. And that we're going to lose 2 or 3 out of North Carolina, Kansas, West Virginia, Houston, Oklahoma State. Can it happen? Sure. And
I don't put North Carolina in that grouping. I think
True.
Jackson State,
Yeah.
NC A&T, and I don't know, is NC A&T, are they FCS?
I'm not sure at this point because some of them have been starting to float around and move up and move sideways too.
Because I think you can count one FCS opponent as towards your win total for bowl.
I think Jacksonville State is FCS.
Jack State isn't. They moved up. They moved back up to FBS. I think that their transition into FBS, they were like a 2-year cycle to transition. NCAA, I think it is. UNC, I don't have much faith in UNC, especially under Bill Belichick. That's a train wreck under the head coaching, from the head coaching perspective. Yes, they're throwing a lot of money at it. I don't have confidence that he's going to be able to put together a team with everything that's surrounding everything that's going on there within the first 3 games of the season. They turned over their entire team. So I don't have a lot of confidence in that. I don't have a lot of confidence in Cincinnati. For me, I think 3 to 4 teams or 3 to 4 wins is a little bit low. I think that 4 to 6 is probably the sweet spot for the expectation. And again, we'll go over this in detail with the rest of the team later on. But I think, I think to me, and thank you, Econ Advisor, for bringing this up and obviously chatting with us about that. But I think that 4 to 6 should be expectation. 4 wins at the bottom, 6 wins at the top for next season. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and throw out some more listener love besides Mike. To some new followers on X, Zanzibar, welcome to the family. Pick 6 previews, welcome to the family. Chase Henshaw, that should ring a bell. Welcome to the family. Brad D, Chairshot Sports, and Max Nightman. Welcome to the show. We also had some followers on YouTube, but as you remember, you guys choose to remain private, so I can't see who you are. But shout out to you and to your new followers. Make sure to tell your friends. We appreciate you. Communicate with us on the comments during the show and also in the comments. Hit us up on X. Thank you for making our show better and being a part of it. We appreciate you guys. Charge on. All right. Let's go ahead and swim it once again.
Swim it.
Thank you. All right. So since Alan is not here to deliver his Alan's oxymoronic stat of the week, Josh, do you have a sometimes funny fact of the week for us this week?
I do. I wouldn't say funny, but something interesting. Let me. Before I get to that, A, Jacksonville State is in CUSA. I thought they were. B, in their first season of being in the women's bowling conference and having a women's bowling team, they won the national championship. Sorry, I was just researching Jacksonville State a little bit, which, as a bowling fan, absolutely floors me. I wanted women's bowling and men's bowling at UCF in the 90s, and unfortunately, I was too lazy as a student. Going back to 87, this is the 87th episode, and 1987 was a D2 independent UCF football team. We went 9-4, and we were ranked number 11. We were one of, I think it was 10 independent teams. I think about 10 independent teams in the NCAA Division II, of which one of them is currently an FBS team. Name any 2. Any 2. I'll give you any 2. Or the one who is currently FBS.
Delaware?
Okay. No, I'm just going to go straight up no. It's just you and me. No.
So these were independent teams at the time with us that are now.
Correct.
Yes. Troy?
Independent football teams, and Troy is not a state. No, Troy we did. So that's 87 is the year we lost to Troy in the semifinals. We got hit. And this is at the Citrus Bowl. This is 31-10. Actually, our worst loss of the entire season. No other loss was over 7 points. So no.
So it wasn't Troy. Independent.
Decent guess though. One of them is current FBS. One is a well-known basketball school. The rest, good luck.
Bethune-Cookman, I know. I think we played them.
We did, and we won. but they were in a conference. Well, they were independent.
Georgia Southern.
No, that's a good
USA? Aren't they CUSA?
Well, they are. I'm talking. They weren't independent in '87. We did play this team in '87 at the Citrus Bowl and shellacked them 42-21. I'll give you a couple more guesses, and this is.
Well,
let's see if Mike's guess it
give me
too.
one hint.
Give you one hint.
Are they recent FBS?
They are recent FBS, spending a lot of money to get their name out.
Liberty.
Ding, 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 ding.
I
Liberty was.
I was thinking about that, and I was like, was it Liberty?
Okay.
Like,
so we were an independent with Liberty back then. In D2. This is D2. We are the only losses allegedly were only lost during the regular season came to one AA opponents. Remember when we had Division II, one AA, all that, which was Georgia Southern and I think Eastern Kentucky.
All right, I'm going to bring the season up real quick because I want to see who.
I wonder if that's the Eastern Kentucky with Tony Roma. I think that's too far back. Bring up the season. I'm trying to figure out.
We beat Bethune-Cookman, which we still play periodically. That was back when they were a rival. We beat Elon.
Yes.
We beat Eastern Kentucky.
We
lost to Georgia Southern barely, 34-32.
Yes. We did play them. Yeah.
We beat Savannah State. Are they even a thing anymore?
I will tell you in a second. The Savannah State Tigers football team still plays Division II. It seems like.
UWG. Who's that? UWG. Is that Western Governors University or something? Oh, West Georgia. West Georgia. All right. Then Northwest Missouri State. We beat them.
Yes.
Then we beat Grand Valley State and Liberty.
Yeah.
We played at Florida A&M and lost to them 14-19. Morningside.
That is, Morningside University, private affiliated United Methodist Church, Sioux City, Iowa.
All right. We played IUP, which sounds not good. It sounds like a medical term.
IUPUI, that's the Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Interesting. And then Troy, as you mentioned, our loss 30
is not a state. And for the people who aren't on the Wikipedia page,
I'm not on the Wikipedia page actually.
Oh, nice.
UCF football has these schedules out there. So
I know that. I know that too.
Yeah.
So St. Mary's, the Gales, that St. Mary's was also independent in football in Division II and was 8-3. Like they were pretty good. Other teams that were independent, New Haven, Springfield, we kind of talked about, Central Connecticut, American International, Liberty, we talked about, Kentucky State, Michigan Tech, and Michigan Tech. I was like, what is that? Oh, they're in the upper pennant. They're in the UP. They're like way up. And Southern Connecticut State, which I also need to take a look at. It's just amazing, like, to get the context of where we're at now, where we are one of two, if not maybe three, automatic bids to a playoff when we used to be in playoffs, but in a different conference. And just kind of, Liberty did it too, right? They out of all those, the Gales, they might still play
Liberty
football.
Bought their way, and
they bought their way in. We earned it, but still, I mean, it's amazing to see how far we've come since '87. And that's like almost 40 years ago. And for the 87th show, I thought that would be interesting to talk about St. Mary Gales football, who has not played since 2003, unfortunately.
Well, interesting that I just looked up Liberty. They started in 1973.
That's close.
Yeah.
I just looked up St. Mary's. They won the Cotton Bowl in 1938. I mean,
this should put this in perspective for all of you UCF fans out there, right? I'm 44 years old. As you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, I missed the show for my birthday.
Yeah.
1987, I was 6 years old. So we've gone within my lifespan, within my football lifespan, within my time to have a midlife crisis. We've gone from playing those teams to playing in one of the top leagues in the country. So as difficult as it was being a UCF fan for a long time, losing those close games for so many years until the Liberty Bowl, not getting our shot or not being respected, right? This program has done amazing things in a relatively short period of time, in a lifetime, not even a full lifetime, a half a lifetime. So, we are, and I've said this before, we are unique if you're in our age group because you've watched this team, right? And Josh is older than me, just as a reminder.
Yeah.
We've watched this team have so many firsts, and the only people that have had that at the Michigans of the world lived 105 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's a special time in our generation. It's a special time because we had the privilege of watching all of that happen, and hopefully, we already won a national championship. Hopefully we get to see another one with a playoff invitational win. So take it there, all of you P5 fans that didn't like us. Okay. Thank you for that, Josh. Let's talk a little bit UCF softball. UCF softball is coming up. As you said, we were going to be playing Michigan. Thank goodness we are in the tournament. We did make the tournament, so we are in Texas, believe it or not. Thank goodness we are not in Florida, because normally we get stuck at Gainesville or FSU.
Yep.
We're not in the same tournament as FSU. So that's exciting. And this team, as to your point, should be, and you and I were going back and forth about this on our texts, this team should be a team you should be excited about because, number one, the bracket that they're in and the location that they're in is winnable. So that's number one. Number two, they have been on fire offensively in the last 10 games. Aubrey Evans has turned it on and become the hitter that we all expected her to be. And again, she's young, right? But as far as home runs are concerned, she's literally knocking it out of the park. So this is a fun team to watch. They play pretty good defense, and they're a pretty good hitting team. And so, as you mentioned, talk to us a little bit more about this Michigan team. If you remember, the last time we played Michigan in the tournament, we put them out of the tournament with their Hall of Fame head coach, who's no longer coaching Michigan. So tell us a little bit more about Michigan.
So Michigan is interesting. When I was watching the softball announcement show, NCAA announcement show, and we got past Florida, no UCF, I was kind of excited because it means at least we're getting towards a lower national seed and have some more shots. Then we got past the FSU regional. I was like, are we not going to get in? It didn't seem likely to not get in. We talked about Eric Lopez in the past in the show, and he had us in. We are RPI 30. It seemed destined for that to happen. But even the notes that happened from UCFKnights.com said, in the verbiage of we assume we're getting in, but it's not a definite thing, right? And we got a number 2 seed, and we dropped down to Austin. And when I started researching Michigan, my first thought was, well, I remember this show again, right? We all, most of us, when our teams get into the playoffs.
We ended up with the number 2 seed and ended up in the Texas bracket?
Well, we are 2 seed in the Texas bracket, not overall. Right? No, we're in the bracket. We are 2. Okay. Michigan is 3.
All right. I was like, what?
Not Eastern Illinois.
A resume for that. We had a low RPI, but not a resume for that.
No, not at all. And the reality is that Michigan's a really interesting team this year. Michigan was swept by UCLA, was swept by a few other teams. And then in the last 6 games just went on a tear. They were, I think, the 8th. They were ranked 8 in the conference tournament. So the 8th seed in the conference tournament. That tells you how they did in the Big Ten this year. Big conference, but still 8th. And they just beat everyone, including UCLA in the finals to make it in. maybe they make it in. I didn't look at their RPI or any of that. Maybe they make it in if they don't win out. But they've won 6 in a row. They have been on a hot streak. And this is like they lost to UCLA within I think the last month, like just swept. I think the Ohio State swept them too. So they went on a tear.
So let's talk about this, right?
Sure.
So they played Minnesota and they won 8-0. They lost the first game 0-4, right?
Okay.
Then they won again against Minnesota 3-0. Then they won against Wisconsin 3-2. Then they won against number 4 Oregon 5-0.
Yeah.
Then they beat Purdue 4-2. And then they beat number 9 UCLA 2-0. So I don't know if you noticed. Did you notice a theme on those wins?
Yeah, donuts. Like we're talking, they gave up 4 runs the entire 4 runs. Yeah, 4 runs the entire Big Ten tournament.
So what does that tell you?
Hold on, let me see what the days are. 7, 8, 9, 10. They got pitching.
They got great pitching, so they're great in the circle, and that's the big thing. So if our ladies can hit decently, and they have been on a tear on hitting, we've had like the opposite. Now we've got 2 really good starters in the circle, one of which is a freshman, right? But we've got 2 really good starters in the circle, and then I can't remember her name. Who's the third one that we brought back from last year that was great last year but has not been pitching?
Oh, I saw her pitch, and I can't pull the name out of my head right now.
Was she the one who hit the
No, that was Unesia. That's the freshman from New York. I was like, you gotta throw the New York in there, but now I can. That wasn't her, but I think she Evans popping in my head, and I don't think that's it. But yeah, we have.
It's definitely not Aubrey Evans. Give me one.
Yeah, I know. It was just the name is popping in my head. I'm focused on Michigan though.
Caitlin Felton.
Yeah, because we generally know about our team within reason. Like Oregon swept Michigan this year. UCLA swept Michigan this year. Ohio State swept Michigan this year. All top ranked 10 teams, or 24 with Ohio State. Michigan wasn't supposed to do this. And this is why this is kind of a little bit scary because, and our team is up for it. Let's not, forget that this team has beaten multiple top 25 teams, multiple top 10 teams.
Their RPI was low for that reason.
Yeah, they knocked out some big teams. So this is going to be a really good first game. And I feel like it's going to be a really good series. We'll see how far it goes, but I think we had a couple of hiccups at the end, right? Ourselves. Really wish we could have pushed past Arizona because we were up 3-0 in that game, and we just couldn't hold them off. And we have beaten them before too. So we're kind of in a smidgen of a hot streak outside of that. What the heck happened at Oklahoma State at home?
Let me put it to you this way to speak to the RPI, right? Our RPI right now is number 30.
Yeah.
So we are UCF is 33-22. The only other team that had a close a record that was close to us was Auburn at number 15, who was 32-22. Everyone else had wins in the upper 30s, 37, 38, or 40-plus wins. So that should tell you, and Georgia was 31-20. I missed them when I first looked at there. So that should tell you the type of, the people that we beat and the level of competition that this team is capable of winning against. And they are on a tear. So do I expect, when we're talking about baseball in the tournament versus obviously it's different when it's the Big 12 tournament versus softball in the NCAA tournament. Do I expect softball, or I expect softball to at least be competitive because we've got our own ace. And so if all they have is pitching and their hitting isn't great, then that favors UCF in this game against Michigan.
And all I'll say is that was the pitching on those four. Like, if you look at, that's what I'm saying. If you look at other games, you're seeing them giving up tons of runs to lots of good teams. So that's why that tournament was an anomaly, and hopefully stays an anomaly, and we do pretty good. We'll see what happens coming up this week.
Yep. And so Eastern Illinois is in that bracket, and then number 6 Texas looms large in Austin. We're playing in Austin, so it'll be a tough battle to get out of that. But I do like our chances against Michigan, especially considering how well we've been hitting towards the tail end of the season. So I'm excited. Make sure you tune in to watch that game. It'll be live in about 3 days. By the time you listen to this, the Nobra gets it up. It'll be Wednesday. So it'll be like 1 day. There's no thank you, Nobra, for everything that you do. Dropping you back off. All right. Make sure you watch this game. The ladies deserve it, and I think they're going to deliver a win. So that's my hot take for this week, is that UCF softball beats Michigan. Texas is a whole nother story, but I think it'll be a fun watch. All right. That being said, let's go ahead and swiv it one more time to the quick update on UCF sports that Alan does not watch, especially since he's not here. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, and I will say that we already talked about softball. What we didn't talk about is that we walked off Utah 7-5 in the first round of the Big 12 championships, and we did talk a little bit about losing to number 10 Arizona. Even though we beat them in Tucson in a 3-game series, we couldn't get.
Oh, I thought we had that game. That was so frustrating.
I know. It was. Also of note in softball, we know we're in the tournament. We know what's going on there. Eastern Illinois, the Panthers are the OVC tournament winning team, so they got the auto bid for that. Obviously, Michigan got the auto bid too. And I don't think maybe they needed to get in, but they're in. We're in, obviously, and of course, national number 6 seed Texas. Also of note, Isabella Vega was included in the top 10 finalists for the NCFA's National D1 Freshman of the Year. One of those said pitchers that hopefully will knock it out of the park. Well, actually keep it in the park, but you know what I mean. Do really well.
Do really well in the circle. Let's
in the circle.
Let's keep it at that.
Yeah, do well in the circle. So other sports that Alan doesn't watch includes men's tennis. So we said we got to the round of 16, and we got number 2 TCU at home at Fort Worth, and we got. So when I was looking and watching these games, the doubles point.
Who we beat? We beat TCU.
Oh yeah, we beat TCU within the last couple weeks, but we didn't beat them in Fort Worth. And when was the doubles matches, they had one, we had one, and there was one tied about 3-3, and then the rails fell off. Lost that doubles point, so we had to pick up 4 out of the 6 after the first set. I said it in the chat. I looked at it. We won 1 out of 6 games. I'm like, it's over. It's just over. There's no realistic way to come back from that. And we didn't. We lost 0-4. Listen, TCU men's won the NCAA tournament last year. We beat them this year. And, not when it counted the most, but our men's tennis team, the best season in men's tennis is unfortunately over, but there's a lot of wins, a lot of pride, and a lot to be happy about for that team. And hopefully we see that success in the future.
This is a program that's continuously building and getting better and better. So, it's one to watch.
So we also talked about our rowing team. Yes, rowing did nothing last week.
Yes. When are you doing your karaoke, your coxswain karaoke?
I mean, I need production. Listen, I'm just talent here. I need some contacts and
your talent.
I mean, what else am I at this point?
High side bikini. All right, go ahead.
Rowing did nothing actually on a lake well, let's just say in a competition on a lake this week. I'm sure they're practicing for the women to go to Sarasota on May 17th and 18th this coming week. No matter if you hear this now or in post, the women will be at the Big 12 Championships at May 17th and 18th down in Sarasota. So
No
there's a couple things.
No matter what, I expect them to be in the tournament. So
they're I wouldn't even think they would make the NCAA tournament in one of the multiple bows. Like I assume they're in. That's almost a given. They've beaten too many people this year. They've held their own with too many top 10 teams. Yeah, their women are doing great in rowing. Another women's team that we should talk about wrapped up their season. Unfortunately, this week is still an NCAA tournament, but the women's golf team wrapped up their season finishing number 7 in the Charlottesville Regional. Molly Smith earned her 5th top 10 finish of the season, carding a 73 in the final round. So, again, another, you don't win it all. We're not going to regional, but a good season, right? Last and certainly not least, women's track and field outdoors are participating in the Big 12 Championship on May 15th to 17th in Rock Chalk Park. And I bet you know where that is.
Kansas.
Yeah, Lawrence. That's in Lawrence, of course. We'll see what happens. We've had a lot of the women have been having some personal bests and some great, some personal PRs and some just like really, really, really good times in a couple of different events. And maybe we knock out a win in the Big 12 Championship. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, they're definitely in contention.
Yeah.
All right. That will wrap us up for this week. It was a great show. Thank you, Josh. And thank you, Nobra, for standing in with for Josh so well when he had technical issues. We appreciate, let me say this again. Thank you to all the listeners. Thank you to all the subscribers. Guys, we had 19,500 views this month. So 19,500 views in 28 days. That's because of you. So thank you for coming back. Thank you for viewing. Make sure you tell your friends. Make sure that you're subscribing. We do want to get our subscriber number up again because once we hit 1,000, Alan will cut his hair. So
I forgot about that.
I did not. I've been talking about it the last 3 weeks.
Okay, come on.
We have it on video, so he will do it. He will do it if we hit 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you're subbing. Make sure you're telling your friends. We appreciate everything that you do and being part of the conversation. Go Knights and
charge on. Start spreading the news.